I want to share with you a message entitled The Inward Law of Conscience. And I want to read from Romans chapter 2, verses 14 and 15, and listen to what it says. For when the Gentiles who do not have the law by nature do the things in the law, these, although not having the law, are a law unto themselves, who show the work of the law written in their hearts, their conscience also bearing them witness. Now, when we look at the word conscious, we have to look at the prefix con, which means togetherness or association thoroughly. And then we have the word science, which is knowing. And the Greek word for conscious is suneidesis. It means to be aware or to know together. It is the inner sense of right and wrong that guides a person's actions and judgments. It is the faculty by which individuals discern ethical and moral choices, often reflecting the divine law written in the heart. The conscience is sensitive to the divine spirit leading them, and it can be strengthened or weakened depending on one's spiritual condition and their responsiveness to their divine nature within. Because it is our divine nature that directs our mind to think and our body to function. We have been given innate discernment. So it is not necessary for our spiritual lives to be policed by anyone. Spiritual leadership is designed to enhance or accentuate your ability, your agility, your capacity, your sagacity, your veracity, to rely upon your conscience as it functions according to its dominant divine nature, because you are in partnership with the God in you. You both know together. That's why it is called science, together knowing, associating knowing. Because man's conscience is God-given, it has the power to enable you to exercise right being, right believing, right behaving, and right belonging, just as the law does. And I just read in the text that you do not have to rely on a law on paper to know and do the right thing, because God wrote the law on your heart first. When you do something good by nature, it's automatic because goodness is already in you. You live by divine dictates without really having to think about it. Being good, doing good, and having good are natural to us. And think about this: being evil, doing evil, and having evil is contrary to your divine nature. And our conscious or our internal workings and responses indicate that. Now, of course, in religion and denominationalism, we were taught and told that we were born evil, that our hearts are evil, and by nature we would do evil. But we have divine law inside of us, written by a divine creator, that teaches us that being evil, doing evil, and having evil is unnatural. It is contradictory to our true divine selves. Hebrews chapter 8, verses 10 and 11, and I'm giving a summation. It tells us that the new covenant of grace, it puts the law into our minds and it writes them on the table of our hearts. So that means that no one has to tell us to know the Lord, because we already know him. It is an inward law of conscience. And in closing, we have to be reminded that we have to be reminded of what we already know. That's the purpose of preaching the gospel. And coming into a knowledge of an inclusive, cosmic, and universal salvation is not a discovery of something new, but it is a recovery of what we already had, but we allowed ourselves to lose it by religion. We experience blunt force trauma to the head by fraudulent religious teachings, and it put us into a mental coma where we lack brain functioning, we lack supernatural oxygen coming to our brains, whereby we could function in spirit, mind, and body. Now, Hebrews chapter 13, verse 17 says that spiritual leadership watches for our souls. It never says it watches over our souls. And the reason why that is, spiritual leadership purpose is to be in favor of seeing that our conscience remains in divine health by healthy spiritual teaching. And for spiritual leaders to watch for our souls, it simply means that they exercise attentiveness to our spiritual progression. But we already have inward leadership over our souls or our consciousness, which is by the inward law of inclusive, cosmic, and universal salvation that rules our inner life. According to St. Maximus, the confessor, one of the early church fathers, listen what he said. After God, let us have our conscience as our mentor and ruler in all things, so that we may know which way the wind is blowing and set our sails accordingly. Our divine nature within us should be our greatest influence on our inward law of conscience, so we may live lives of divine productivity by sowing divine seeds and reaping a divine harvest of blessings. Let your conscience be your divine guide. Peace.